Life.
Good afternoon. My name is Roy Kirchner, and this is Secrets to Success in 2025. Come here every single week at noon to give you tips and tricks on how to succeed in 2025. Again, Roy Kirschner, serial entrepreneur here in Tampa Bay, Florida. Own multiple businesses here and definitely excited for this week. JR, I'm going to move it over to you, my friend.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Roy. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is JR Espino. My company is Alloy Advisors, and I too am in the Tampa Bay area. And I am a business coach. And basically, what I do is I help companies grow in their financial performance and also their leadership skills and capabilities. And besides that, I am an inspirational speaker, public speaker, an employee engagement expert, and an executive of all trades. So, really excited to be able to talk with you all today. I will be sharing what our topic will be in just a moment, but I will turn it over to Kevin for your intro.
Hello, everyone. This is Kevin Rodriguez, and I am also in the Tampa Bay area. I do social media management, basically reels for everyone who is trying to create more content online, business owners, personal brands. So yes, that's what I do. I'm happy to be here and listen to these tips.
Awesome. Great. Well, so it's so funny because, as the three of us were talking about what topic we'll be discussing today, we, I said, we'll do this one, but I'm going to pivot on the two of you if you don't mind. And,
No, go ahead, man. Pick
and
up whichever one you want, my friend.
all right, perfect. So, what I want for us to talk about today is it actually ties into what Kevin does, and that is how to build an irresistible personal brand in 2025. Basically, crafting a reputation that attracts high value opportunities. And when you think about that thematically, it is ultimately brand and how to stand out. So, so I'll actually first go to Roy. Roy, so personal branding has really evolved when you think about the consumers today. Consumers really pay more attention to the brand of an individual, the leader of an organization, even more so than they have in the past as compared to what they pay attention to in terms of brand of the company. So, what does personal branding mean to you in 2025?
Yeah. The one thing is wrapping your head around personal brand, right?
Hmm.
As a business owner, I own multiple businesses, but I'm working so busy in my businesses, right, that I didn't realize what the personal brand meant, right? To
Mm,
have a personal brand that coincides with what your businesses are and who you are. So I felt like I was really behind in the personal
mm,
brand space, right? And when I started trying to figure it out, it was extremely complicated, right? Because one, not a lot of people talk to camera every single day, right?
yeah.
To pop up and talk to a camera. So, the first thing and not a lot of people public speak, right? To
Mm,
where they're a good, solid speaker. So, I started my journey by going to Toastmasters
mm,
International, which is learning how to speak better. And I started my journey by doing, which was really strange for me, but talk to camera challenge. It was a 30-day
mm,
challenge where you talk to a camera every single day. And I actually bought it online, right? And found it on YouTube and started going that way. And then there's a 31 to 60-day challenge, but the 30-day challenge, it's unique, man, because you got to learn how to talk to a camera the same way you talk to a person.
right.
And it takes a little bit of it takes a little bit of time to get that, like
Yeah.
basically 30 days. And then if you really want to talk to a camera, right? And let's say, the 31 to 60-day challenge is like where you go eat and you're sitting at a bar and you're eating and you're holding the camera above your head and you're eating and talking to it the entire time, right? And
Hmm.
everybody in the whole place is looking like, why is this guy talking to so it's really awkward, so it's that. And then coming up with, I think with me being a multiple business owner, it's like everybody says you have to drill down on a niche, right? You gotta be
Mm,
a subject matter expert on one thing,
yeah.
right? And you're like, well, what's that one thing? Because I own multiple businesses. So it was really confusing and frustrating at the beginning. And then I
Mm,
started my journey doing social media and started it by trying to figure out, do I need a script? Do I just go right off of what I'm saying? And then some of the scripts that people were producing for me wasn't really my personality, and I'm like, this isn't who I am. And I'm a real person. Like I'm 100% real. I don't like to play games, and I don't like to
yeah.
be something I'm not.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's the biggest issue we have nowadays. And I'm just going to bring this up because we're talking about this the entire time, but the biggest thing I see is when it comes to social media, and regardless of personal brand, what is your resume, right? What is your
Mm,
resume? What is your qualifications to be offering what you're offering and allowing somebody to buy it? And then if they're buying something from you, are they really getting results, right? And I
yeah.
think that's clouded. Like, people say, like, I'm a subject matter expert in something, and they're really not. They say they're a business owner, and hey, like me, you can come into my business. You can pull up here right now. I
Right.
can give you a tour. I can show you my team members, all these types of things. And there's people that say that they do that and they don't. So it's like, you got to be real careful of who you're doing business with, and who you qualify. So for me, it was hard, right? It was
Yeah.
extremely hard at the beginning because you're seeing like all these people with all these views, and then you're seeing all these people with all these followers. And what I came to realize is, if I was just consistent on social media platforms, if I was just consistent, the views and the likes really didn't matter. It was like when I went out in Tampa Bay to a function, people were like, Roy, I love your videos. I love following you on social media. I'm like, well,
Mm,
that's strange. You don't comment, you don't like. And I didn't say that to them, but I realized it is working, and it's tremendously working, and it's working really, really well. You just don't see the actual results online. You see them when I walk into a room, into a networking room, and everybody knows who I am.
yeah.
So it does work, right? And then you got to realize, like, what do you want to be known for? But I think the number one
Yeah.
thing when it comes to personal brand, right, is carving out who you really are, right? You got to be authentic. You got to be real, man. Do not try to pass over something that you are online, and then you're a different person. If somebody met you, right?
Yeah.
Like if they actually came out and met you, and I think that's a big problem as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to dig into today. There's a lot.
Yeah.
So JR, I'll push it over to you for a second.
Yeah, yeah, no, that definitely a lot and a lot of great content. One thing that you'd mentioned was engagement. So I also want to make sure to mention, for those of you who are currently viewing with us, thank you for being with us. I see Ralph Mera, Robert Bishop, Matthew Laughlin. Thank you so much for being with us today. And please do chat in with us. We want this to be interactive. In terms of our brand with you and recognizing the fact that you're spending some time with us. So please type in your thoughts, questions, and even emojis throughout in the chat so we can interact with you. So yeah, I would agree with you. The number one thing that I would say from a branding perspective is that authenticity. We don't want to be that fake person because really people want to buy into the person, right? That's what we're talking about with this branding. And if we are not authentic to who we are, then we are really setting ourselves up for failure. And obviously, none of us goes into leadership or business to set ourselves up for failure. And so we want to express the fact that don't don't try to create something that you're not, because you're going to have a really hard time. It's an uphill battle. The other thing that you mentioned too, Roy, is consistency. And what do you want to be known for? Who you are? All those things, and being consistent in terms of how are you demonstrating that. Sometimes I'll even call it congruency, right? Because you don't want to be this quote persona as you're branding through social media platforms and things like that, and then when you're out in public you're a completely different person, right? How many times do we hear about people who say, oh, you know what, I used to love that celebrity, but once I met them, oh my gosh, they're such a different person. And so when it comes to our personal brand, when it comes to representing our company, whether we're a leader or an entrepreneur, that we want to continue to be consistent and be congruent in that. So, Kevin, I would consider you to be a subject matter expert when it comes to branding because that's what your company does. So, tell me, from your perspective, when did you realize that personal brand mattered more than a business card or a title for a company or even for yourself?
Well, I realized two things. First, the importance of obviously the personal brand, and then
Hmm.
as you start the business and you go into the business, the importance, like you guys were saying, to have a great product that speaks for itself,
Hmm.
because then you don't have to necessarily focus so much on selling the vision, but the product speaks for itself, and that brings the
Yeah.
people along, which is good. And so you realize that, because as a newer entrepreneur, you can't fall into the trap of selling the vision, fluffing it up, as they say, and not
Yeah.
having any substance on the back end. And I noticed that a lot. And luckily, I have great people like Roy and some other friends that I have around me, and like yourself, JR. Now I can ask you for some of these questions as well that point me in the right direction, and I can spot those problems when they happen early on enough. But to me, it came down to learning from YouTube.
Mm.
I came not from business, and so YouTube was the first place that I went to, and I saw how people were blogging their daily lives.
Mm.
There were business owners, and I started looking at YouTube like Google. I was like, okay, so I can go on YouTube, actually see a video because I am a visual learner. I can
Hmm.
pause, rewind, come back, and see it. And so that to me was tremendous. And I noticed, okay, so developing the personal brand, developing a persona that people can trust, that people can follow, developing that catalog really does matter. And over time, you just solidified because you will have hours and hours and hours on social, and that to me was key. So I understood that from I've been understanding that for a while now.
Sorry about that. I was on mute for a second.
Uh,
Yeah, it's interesting. Even when it comes to the influencers, you had mentioned YouTube, and there's so many different opportunities where we're able to have the mechanisms to get in front of people. And it goes back to the prior comment around we need to be who we are. What do we want to be known for and put that forward. Awesome. I'm actually going to do a little quick round robin, rapid fire types of questions for each of you really quickly.
let's
So
do it.
I'll ask you, Kevin, first. So when it comes to, oh gosh, where'd it go? And when it comes to branding, what would you say, Instagram or LinkedIn?
Both,
Both? How about you, Roy?
both.
I would definitely say I definitely know the dominant is Instagram for sure.
Yeah,
But LinkedIn is more for business, right? But the dominant, absolutely the first thing people look at is Instagram.
yeah, yeah. Okay, perfect. And then sorry, I'm chatting in here as well, trying to multitask.
You're doing
Multitasking is a
great.
myth.
You're doing great.
And then how about here's another quick rapid thing. Um, Polished content or raw content? Kevin.
Well, that one gets real deep because at first you want to start providing the high quality content, and then you don't see the results, and then you find out that organic, some guy speaking into the phone goes viral. So raw content for sure, because it's you don't really the barrier to entry is it's like it's easy. You just need a phone, good
Hmm.
lighting, and talk to the people. So yeah, raw content for sure.
Yeah, how about you, Roy?
I'm actually going to split it up. I'm going to say it's really comes down to 100%. What I've realized is it could be either one, but it's the hook. It's the
Mm,
hook at the beginning. It's the engagement, right? It's grabbing the people. It's what you're saying right away because is it grabbing somebody's attention, right?
yeah,
So I've realized that and personal brand is not easy, right? It's this is a constant thing to try to grow and evolve. So I'm no expert. Like I'm not going to say I am in any way, shape, or form. Please understand that. Like I'm just learning as I go.
yeah.
But I realize like it's 100%. the hook, right? Because you got to capture the person's attention right at the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I see Robert, you chatted in here, raw content. And I'm very familiar, actually, Robert, I know very well. He's in digital marketing, and I've seen a lot of his content in that it is raw and, almost guerrilla style to be able to take a person into their world, right? So actually, that leads to a more in-depth question here. And so, when thinking about brand and personal brand, what would you say, Kevin? I'll go to you first. What are the key ingredients of a personal brand that people just simply can't ignore?
Um, when you're speaking of a personal brand, like Roy said, you have to be authentic. You have to be you.
Mm,
Because I like to tell people, look, don't feel like you have to dance for the algorithm.
mm,
There are people that dance, quote unquote, meaning like follow the trends, and they do
mm,
it great, and that's okay. It's okay to hop on trends if it makes sense for you, for your brand or whatever you are trying to, tell the world. But being authentic goes a very long way, because some days you won't feel like doing it, and if you're creating something that you like, that you feel comfortable, that comes natural to you, it'll help you tremendously. So
mm-hmm,
um and then a couple of technical points for people, because I do like, filming and stuff like that. There's three basic things that, actually two. If you have a phone where you can record with, if you pay attention to your lighting and good
mm,
audio,
mm,
with those three things, you can talk to the world. You have a portal to the world. But
yeah,
audio and lighting does matter. It does elevate your content. I sometimes when I get new clients and they're starting from scratch and they tell me, Kevin, I want to create my persona, I tell them, look, how do you see yourself? Let's say they're a motivational speaker or inspirational speaker,
mm-hmm,
because there is a lot of those out there now. I tell them, even if you are your home, um, dress like you're speaking in public, like, because it does matter when the
mm,
people see it. It's like, don't feel bad that you're only doing it from home. That's okay, but you can also have that image, like you see yourself in 10, 20 years from now. And so to me, that those could help a lot when developing the brand.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Actually, I'll chime in with that really quickly. In my background, I came from learning development, and I would often, talk to my learning instructors around how you show up, right? That you're always influencing someone, whether or not you intend to. And to your point, Kevin, your appearance plays a role in that, right? I would often tell my instructors, whatever the dress code is in that office, I want you to dress one level above that, because you are the influencer, because you are the person that people are listening to. And I would say the same when it comes to our branding, when it with the content that we put out, right? We're all sitting here in a scenario where we are dressed the way we want people to know us, and we are demonstrating or influencing their perspective because of how we're dressed. In
It matters,
addition,
yes.
yeah, in addition, lighting and audio. You're right. If we don't have proper lighting, or if we don't have proper audio, people are just going to change the channel. People are going to say, you know what? I'm going to scroll. That's what happens. Just scroll right past it, right? So that definitely does have an impact. So Roy, I'll turn it over to you. The same question. What to you are the key ingredients of a personal brand that people can't ignore?
Yeah, so I think it's 100 million% being real. Like
Mm,
you've got to pull out of who you are with integrity, moral values, honor, respect, right? And
mm,
again, portray exactly who you are in person, right? As who you are online, right?
mm-hmm,
And please remember, please remember that if you know you're a good person, right, it doesn't matter what people think of you, because once you start creating a personal brand, there's going to be haters, right? And that's okay. Like, it's okay. Like, not everybody's going to like you, right? And
mm-hmm,
the other thing is, definitely don't get frustrated in
mm,
any way, shape, or form. Do not get frustrated. Just be consistent, and continue to be consistent, and try to get better, right? Like, try to make better content, try to make a better hook. Realize that it's not. about like posting every single day or posting multiple times a day. It actually has to be good content. You need to think about what you're putting out there.
Right.
And it needs to be something that is that's relevant. And again, you have to decide when you're building this, what are there's a fork in the road. Do you go left or you go right? And what I mean by
Mm-hmm.
that, do you talk about politics? Do you not talk about
Mm.
politics? Do you talk about the way you feel about things? Do you not talk about the way you feel about things? Because there's a lot of things that go on in this world, right? And I'm talking in this world. So if you want to, do you talk about religion? Do you not talk about religion? You got to decide at a certain point in time, when you're building this brand, what are the things that you're going to speak about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to speak about some people, like you said, do they speak about their family, right? Or that's an off limits subject, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's only about work, right? Or do they mingle both of those together? So that's another thing you got to think about is am I going to show who I am all the way, right? Or am I just going to show my
Mm.
business side? I would say you need to show both sides. I'm just
Mm.
being honest. Like you need to show both sides, but you've got to make these decisions, right? And then you've got to kind of figure this part out as you go along. Right. And that's a lot right there, what I just said, but it's things that you really need to think about. Right.
Yep.
And then when you're building a personal brand, you're representing your businesses, right? Or your business, right? And it's the same thing. It's the same thing. You've got to make sure that it's consistent, like what you're saying about your business. And then, as well as I do, I mean, most businesses have team members. You have like employees, team, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you got to make sure that they, just like you are as the CEO of a company, you have a vision of the company. You got to make sure that they're portraying that same vision as well online, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because they work for you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or they work for the entity, or they work for the corporation, or they work for the small business. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so it has to do a lot with that as well, you know. But I'm gonna push it back over to you, Jr.
Yeah, I would agree with everything you both said. I want to go back to a comment earlier. You actually both touched upon it, and that's about being real. Um, Back in 2016, where I was working previously, I was with a giant corporation. I was in senior leadership, part of learning development, different roles, but I was asked to facilitate a session around self-advocacy and how to help people elevate and promote themselves in a way where it wasn't going to be smug. And I did some research and thought, okay, who self advocates? Politicians. And, and then with politicians, I started looking into their campaign speeches. And what I found is there are four consistent elements of campaign speeches. And I'll go back to, being real. The first element is making sure people know who you are, your experience and things like that. The second thing is making sure people know what you stand for, and that could be your values, your guiding behaviors. The next element is how you're going to make a difference. And then the last is ultimately why I choose you. And so when it comes to being real and what we're putting forward, we want to make sure that we are putting forward exactly who we are, what we stand for. And to your point, Roy, there are so many different things out there where people can easily veer down a certain path of, well, this is my opinion about this. And they have to make a decision around that. And sometimes it can be challenging. And so that actually leads me to the next question. And that is, Kevin, how do you decide what parts of your story or personality to share publicly? Or even when you're working with your clients, what do you tell them in terms of what they should decide on sharing the personal element or the uh, professional element to their public story?
Well, first, I would tell anyone who's watching this and the people in the chat, before I started doing this, I had to sit down and analyze myself.
Mm,
And because I had to ask myself, who do you want to be? What side of you are you going to show online? And are you okay let's say everything you've ever done, it's out there in the social. Will you be okay? And so once you ask yourself these questions, you feel pretty comfortable on what to put online, and that helped me a ton. And so when I talk to my clients, the way I view it is, you kind of go into like an advisory role, because they might have a lack of understanding of everything that goes into, and so I treat them the same way I want to be treated.
Mm,
And so I make sure I explain to them why we do the things we do, how do we arrive at those, at that conclusion, so they feel comfortable and they see that they're getting value for their buck, and they can see why we do things the way we do. And it's basically just good customer service, man. Good customer service goes a long way.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree 100% that it, again, it goes back to identity and brand, and then how people feel. There's that saying from Maya Angelou, people will forget, and I'm paraphrasing, but people will forget what you said or what you did, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. So that's
Yes.
absolutely critical. So Roy, for you, you touched upon this a little bit already, but I want to dive a little bit deeper, and that is again the same question: how do you decide what parts of your story or personality to share publicly? Like you personally, how do you decide?
Yeah, I mean, I am who I am, and I just don't even care. Just to be honest with you, like I just share myself, and it is what it is. I mean,
Yeah,
that's just me.
yeah,
It's always been me, and that's just how it works for
yeah,
me. Like um, I don't really give a lot of thought to it because I am so real and so authentic, and I am who I am, and I've always been that way my entire life.
mhm,
So I have nothing, absolutely nothing to hide, right? I just don't. And you're either gonna like me or you're not. And
yeah,
I don't, like I said, I know I'm a good person, so I don't really have any uh anything to hold back, right? You can ask me any question anytime, anybody can, and I'm just gonna give you, my thoughts on it.
yeah.
So
I,
that's kind of how
I,
Can
I
can I
look at
add
it.
something to that? Sorry, just something quick to what Roy said. For anyone watching, the truth will set you free.
mm,
Like Roy mentioned, if you are being honest and you're a good person and you have good morals, your conscience will be clean, and you will wake up wanting to be better, make it better, and come back at it, instead of feeling like you want to push away or business is going the wrong way. Just the truth will set you free, and it's a great way to put yourself out there.
yeah, I agree. I agree with both of those things. Now, I will add a little bit of a twist to that. Um, because I 100%, if you are confident in who you are in terms of your values, what you bring forward, you're authentic, all those things, I agree 100%. Now, I will also say there are circumstances where maybe people don't want to, um, they want to be guarded in terms of what they want to show, right? They want to be guarded, not so much of, like because they're not a good person, but from a privacy standpoint. It's funny. I used to Facebook, right? People would always post, "Hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what that's what I'm doing," so on and so forth. I used to travel for work all the time, and I'd gotten to a place where I said, "You know what? I am not going to post real time when I'm out of town because it demonstrates the fact that I'm not at home." And that leaves my home vulnerable, right? So I would say, sometimes think in terms of what are those other things that you're not immediately considering and thinking about when you want to share something publicly. A friend of mine tells a story about a, a, a key influencer on Instagram, millions and millions of followers, and that influencer had posted that, oh, here I am in Barbados or wherever it was. I don't remember exactly where it was, but then came back to his home, and his home had been broken into. It had been robbed.
Whoa.
And he decided, I'm not going to post anymore, and then just dropped and dropped and dropped. But then the advice was post when you get back, right? Still share your story because people love it. Just post when you get back so you're not in that vulnerable place. So, chat, people who are watching, I want to ask you this question, and I'm going to ask Kevin and Roy as well. But chat, for people who are watching, put in here someone whose brand you admire, famous or not, and why, right? So the people who are listening right now, please chat in here. Who is someone that you admire their brand, whether or not they're famous, and why? And then so I'll ask the two of you, Kevin and Roy, who is that? So Kevin, who's somebody that you really admire their brand?
Um, Alex Hormozy,
Who's that?
and he's, to me, he resonates a lot because he gives it to you straight up.
Hmm,
And I would also add Roy to that. I like Roy's brand. Roy does a very great job, um, and it's that the style that I like. It's very direct, but it's also, you get a lot of value. There's
hmm,
no dancing around. It's like, here is how I did it. Here are all the mistakes I've made. Do this. This is very useful for you. And so anyone who saves me time, I love, and I try to replicate that, because that's, we know time is money, and it also, you get to level up faster. So Alex Hormozy, it's like a young entrepreneur. He used to sell, he used to teach gym coaches how to sell more
oh,
gym memberships.
mm-hmm,
And now him and his wife, Leila Hormozy, they work with school.com, and so they're vlogging their way to $1 billion. But they're 30 years old and making a lot of money, but they're basically just, they give a lot of value for free, and great value stuff that takes them years. And so, but the fact that it's like, there's no filter, it's coming to you straight. This, and I like that mentality. I
yeah.
absolutely love that mentality, the discipline, the very, like, no fluff, just straight to the point.
Yeah, yeah, love that. And I see in our chat here, Matthew Laughlin, you started reading Alex's books and helping how you plan out your steps in your business. That's awesome. Robert also mentions that Alex is great as well, but Robert mentions the building a story brand guy. So thank you for contributing, Robert and Matthew. So Roy, Um, I'll ask you whose brand do you admire again, whether they are famous or not, and why?
Yeah, I think the closest to me that I admire, but he's the closest to me, right? I resonate 100% is Andy Facillo.
Hmm,
So
And the
he owns
facility.
First Forum. He built his business from the ground up, and now it's way over 400 million.
hmm,
So everything he stands for, his core values within his business, within himself, the way he reacts to things, I'm just very much, I just follow him a lot and respect him tremendously.
hmm,
And if he built 75 hard, which is very well known, and it's people think in some ways it's like for fitness, but it's mental clarity, right?
hmm,
It's 75 days of doing certain things and working out and eating right, and reading every single day. So that's part of the 75 hard program. I mean, it's just, yeah, there's just so many things about him that I can't even go into all of it, but I can tell you he's impacted so many people in this world, right? And made their lives better. And yeah, I just hope one day I can do as much as he's doing. So
yeah, nice, nice. Um, I'll share that someone's brand that I really appreciate is John Maxwell. You know, I've shared in prior episodes that I'm certified in Maxwell leadership training, and I am because I really believe in what John Maxwell has to say and how he represents himself and how the organization represents him as well. It goes back to a comment you made earlier, Roy, around the fact that like we have people representing the company and that has to be a consistent brand behind it. And now, with the executive leadership team that John Maxwell has, every one of them, lives by that, and they demonstrate the branding of where he came from and the impact that he wants to have. And similar to you, Roy, I would definitely like to have that same kind of impact that he has and that same kind of brand where people will say, "Yep, there's that guy." I know I have a brand of a mustache. I get that, but more importantly than just my mustache. Matthew chat in here. Five Media, based in Sarasota, Florida, is someone he respects and admires. Innovative in social media, video design, diligent about his work, and stands for what he believes in. And that's great. Actually, that ties into what I had mentioned earlier around the self advocacy piece, right? What the person does and what they stand for, and ultimately how they make a difference. So, Matthew, thank you for that contribution. So, here's an interesting question. The three of us on this session here on this episode, we are, I'll say, probably more on the extroverted side of the scale when it comes to being vocal or expressing our thoughts and whatnot. And so there are other people who aren't as vocal, or maybe they might be considered quiet, right? So, with that being said, Kevin, can someone with a quiet personality still build a powerful brand? And if so, how?
For sure, 100%. First of all, it's 2025. Anything's possible. Anything's possible. And the first thing I'll say myself is I actually am not. I can be both. I can be very into myself. I was
Mm,
not on social media at all
mm,
until I decided to be. And the way I learned, for those people who are not, don't like to put themselves out there like that, there's two things you can do. Now AI can help you can help you build a faceless brand, which you can monitor from behind, and you can tell the story. Or you can take my approach. I basically didn't know anything about it, and I just know that if I show up every day and I keep doing it, eventually you'll get there. And so
mm,
you're in that gap where you're just trying to get the sucky part out of the way by just repeating and trying, and doing challenges like Roy mentioned, 30 days,
mm-hmm,
60 days. And you just ask yourself, can I do it? Can I turn on that camera and make one video? Let's just start with one. Simple
mm-hmm.
steps, and taking the action, it's so powerful. Just taking the action, and that holds a
Yeah.
lot of people back. But for the most part, we by now know that it's just a lot of fears that we have of the what can be. So we mentally lose the battle before we even get there. But if you can just take action with one simple video, it can change your life, because it's totally doable. Anybody can do it. And if you don't want to be, then AI can help you for sure.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. I was in a networking meeting earlier this week, and there's a question of the week, and the question was, what is a common phrase that people use that you find sort of annoying or don't really like? And so one gentleman, actually a friend of mine, he said, um, knowledge is power. He said, I hate that because knowledge is power if you don't, knowledge is not powerful if you don't do anything with it. Action is power. So I
True.
love, Kevin, that you're talking about that. Take action, take those simple steps. I like to say progress over perfection. Take those different steps that may be able to make things happen. So Roy, from your perspective, um, oh my gosh, now I totally drawn a blank here.
No, no. So it
The,
was basically, could you be could you be
Quiet. That's
a
it.
a
Yeah.
quiet person and accomplish building a personal brand?
Yeah.
And I absolutely 100% say yes, because, like even this year when I went to Podfest Expo, which is one of the largest podcasting, most of those people are not, they, they don't they don't have the personality I have, right? They're a lot
Hmm.
more held back, right? But they do podcasting.
Hmm.
So I can tell you, yeah, it's you can do it either way, right? And you have to remember, I mean, a lot of people get let's say a lot of people in public, right, or even young people, they get bullied at school, but then they go home and they can, be on video and talk
Mm.
about things and have like this whole other side. So it's yes, I definitely think it's not about 2025 for me. It's just, yes, anybody can do it. You just gotta put it there, right? And then
Yeah.
you always have to remember. I mean, we're always getting better every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Hindsight's 2020. You can look in the past, right? And you can see every single thing that ever went wrong. And the past is even this, right? The beginning of
Mm-hmm.
this, right? Now I could, I learned just from what we've talked about already, and then I can change it for the future. So the past is the past, but
Mm-hmm.
it's clear. You have so much clarity in the past, and you know that you can, moving into the future, that's where, like you said, you got to start every single day as a fresh, brand new day and a
Mm-hmm.
new perspective on how you're going to crush the world, right? How you're going
Mm-hmm.
to crush everything in your life, right? So it's those types of things that people just need to realize, right? And then take those chances, because chances, right? Failures are what molds you into a great person, right?
Yep.
It's not the accomplishments, it's the actual failures. It's the giving the opportunity to do it, right? um so yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. Actually, earlier I wrote down the thing about failures and how it helps us propel forward because we're learning from it. That we need to continue to have that approach that we're learning and moving forward, learning and moving forward. Back to even taking those simple steps. One thing I will add in terms of somebody who might have a quiet personality and how they can be successful with their brand is not everyone enjoys listening to people like us. Quite frankly, there are
Well, that's
people.
that's the world, right? I mean, the
Right.
world is, you have the decision to listen to us or you have the decision not to, right? So, I mean, you're not doing this to please other people. You're doing this to provide value, and you're doing this because you enjoy doing it, right?
Right.
So it's that, but you're absolutely 100%. It's not going to please everybody, and what I've realized, right, over long, long time, right, is that's the truth. Some people are going to resonate with your personality and who you are, and some
Hmm.
people are going to hate you. You know
Yep.
what I mean? And they're going to they may not like you just because of the way you look, right?
Yeah.
And that's the world we live in, right?
Yeah.
So it just comes down to that bottom line,
Yeah.
but I think, you've got to be willing to take some risk. The key to being successful in this world, right? The key to being successful is you have to remember every single day you're in a boxing match, right? You're in the ring and you're in a boxing match, and it could have been
Hmm.
back in the day when Mike Tyson was one of the best there is, right? And you're in that boxing ring with him, and he's throwing punches and he's missing you, and then that could be the whole day. He like misses you the whole day. You had a good day. The next day, man, you could get right up and something punches you right in the face and knocks you down. It didn't keep you down because you're not dead, but it really messed you up, right?
Hmm.
Or you could bob and weave a couple times. He gets a couple good licks. Now, the thing that people have to remember, right, is every single day you're in this ring, right? And you got to remember the opponent across from you is realizing they're realizing who you are. So you
Hmm.
got to get better every single day because they're getting better, because you don't want them to be able to knock you down. But if you continue doing the same thing over and over and over again, they're going to pick up on your strategy and they're going to knock you right out, right? So
Hmm.
it's the same thing every single day. You got to keep on. But the problem is people don't realize that they're in this ring, right? People want to play it safe. They don't even want to get in the ring. And that you need to get in the ring. That's part of life, right? That's
Hmm.
what we're here for, right? And it's gonna hurt. Like, you get knocked down, really hit, right? It's gonna hurt really bad. But
Hmm.
you know what? You're not dead. So you get up and you go to the next day. And some people can't get up, right? That's
Hmm.
another problem. Some people can't get up, or some people, it takes a long time for them to get up. And then some people change, and then it changes who they are, and they realize they're in this ring. But everybody needs to realize they're in this ring, right? And that's
Hmm.
life. That's life. And you cannot stay stagnant. You cannot continue doing the same thing. It's not Groundhog Day, because trust me, that boxer, that professional boxer across from me, he's gonna pick up on who you are. I promise
Yep.
you that.
Yep.
Like, and he's gonna be able to knock you out, right?
Yeah.
So, that's just some of the things that I think, that we can give to people for keys to success in 2025. It's take that leap, take that challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. And again too. when it comes to how we approach our brand, it also ties to who is our audience, right? Who is it that we want to be able to impact? There may be individuals out there who their impact that they want to have would be people who are quieter in nature, or people who like to do a certain activity or like to consume content in a certain way. And so I think that it continues to go back to our authenticity and what impact do we really want to have? What kind of value do we want to push forward? And Matthew, he chatted in a really interesting comment, and that is 1 hour live stream or sift through YouTube shorts for advice, because sometimes the attention span of many falls to short form content. And so, Roy, I'll ask you. We're sitting here on a one hour live stream. I also know that you put out content in short clips. From your perspective, what have you had more successes with, if there was one that was greater than the other? Short content or the 1 hour content?
I haven't done a lot of long form content besides like LinkedIn Live and things like that. If
Mhm.
you really want to get down and get to the dirt of things and figure things out, I absolutely say it's got to be long form, because there's only so much you can say short form. And if you're
Mm,
really trying to affect and change somebody with your content and provide them knowledge, I don't think it can be done that fast, right?
sure.
I think short form is a way for them to start following you, is a way for them to see who you are, is a way to see that you have knowledge. But really, I would love to start producing more long form content, because the true value is this, right? People
Hmm.
asking you questions, you helping them, you providing the knowledge. Like, I can't tell you how to run a business in 60, 90, or 180 seconds, right? In two
Right.
minutes. I can't tell you that, but I
Yeah.
can give you a lot of good information over an hour, 2 hours, those types of things. So I think the long form content is when they figure out that they like who you are and like your personality and figure out that you're real. They're going to attach to you and listen to your long form content.
Yeah, and and to your point, the short form, really, that is to grab their attention. Almost think of it like a commercial on television. Commercials on television is to grab your attention, is to be able to say, this is what I want to put forward, and then put my hooks in. And then you go and do things, you purchase it, or you go into further depth into that particular thing, con- content, topic, product, whatever it may be. And so I would agree with you that there's only so much that you can do, right? Even this 1 hour session is limited compared to the depth that you can take. I believe that when it comes to our brand, we need to make sure that it's something that grabs attention. As a matter of fact, when you think of some of the popular songs, particularly in the hip hop scene, you'll hear the artist say their name right at the beginning of the song because of their brand. So that then people know, oh, I'm going to listen to this song because it's this person, not because they hear what the beat is or what the melody is, but because they hear the person's name because of the brand. And so I think that that's the same type of thing that we all need to work toward is what is our brand that we can have that hook? What is the thing that we can put out there in terms of content that's going to grab attention and then intrigue interest, pique interest for further conversation, for further engagement with the person. So, Kevin, from your perspective, what are your thoughts between the 1 hour live stream versus a short form?
I absolutely love the long format because with the long format, someone like myself, if I'm trying to learn about entrepreneurship and I didn't, go to college and I'm learning from online, I get to, let's say I'm listening to you guys speak, I get to understand your train of thought
Hmm.
by listening to long, and I do need it if I don't know how to do something, because sometimes, yes, there are um, templates that we can plug and play and use, but you still have questions. And so if we get to see on the long format, um, a content creator break down how specific scenario when something that happened in real time, that's, I cannot even express how useful that's been for me. I've watched hours and hours and hours of long format, and I'm a big fan. Again, out of those long formats, you can always clip the very useful advice or the very good hooks, and those are the ones that you can use to
Mm.
advertise on the short format side of things. But long format to me, it's just, it's a gift. Honestly, it's a gift because we can learn a lot. I have, for sure. So I'm a big fan of long format content, for sure.
Awesome, awesome. So I'm going to ask the viewers this question, and I'll also pose the same question over to Roy and Kevin. So viewers, if you can chat in here, what's holding you back from showing up more online? So again, viewers that are currently with us, please post in the chat. What's holding you back from showing up more online? And then I will ask the same question to you, Roy. I know you put a lot of content out there, but I also know you want to do more, right? So what's holding you back from putting more content out there?
Um, literally time of the day, right? I think it's that just running a million miles a minute, trying to balance, everything from business to life to everything. So it comes down to that. Sometimes I really am blown away by the amount of people and how much content they can put out there, right? Because it's
Yeah,
like, wow, especially in the long form, because you see people spend hours a day every single day, but it's like a job, right? So the content has become their job. But me, I have businesses to run and different things like that. But yeah, that's probably really what it comes down to, is just carving more and more into the day, and I'm getting better and better at it. So,
yeah,
but
yeah,
that's where I say, no matter what, you can spend a little bit of time. So the people that are listening that aren't doing any, you can. So
yeah,
you definitely can. So,
yeah,
and
yeah,
you'll be really amazed by how it changes things. Like it really does. Like how people notice and talk and come up to you and be like, man, just even the short form, because I do a lot of short form. They're like, man, you made my day when you talked about that day. You know what I mean? Like I needed it right when I scrolled and you came on, like it made a difference. And
yeah,
that's awesome, right? That's freaking awesome. Like that's
yeah,
really
Yes, yes.
that's really amazing to hear, and that makes my day a lot better. Like that, I did so, like I made an impact on somebody. That's awesome, right? Like
hmm,
that's what I like yearn for, is to be able to do that. So yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, appreciate that. And Ralph, I see you typed in here. What's holding you back is knowledge. So I'm going to answer that in two different ways. One, it might be knowledge and how to do that. So definitely, take a look at YouTube channels or ask around, right, and what you can do to make it happen to gain that knowledge. But the second, if you're talking about knowledge in your space, not feeling that you have enough knowledge to be able to share, I'll challenge you with this. The business that you're in, you're probably a subject matter expert. The business that you're in, you probably can have a really great conversation with somebody about what you do. And so I would encourage you to take that same knowledge and put that forward online if that's something you want to do in terms of your brand online. Matthew typed in here discipline and schedule. You probably have 100 notes that would each take so much time, all of those types of things, right? And so I definitely resonate with that. Discipline. I know for me personally, I don't put enough out there because I'm not disciplined in my schedule to make it happen. There's a saying that doctors are the worst patient. I'm a business coach. I tell people to do these things. I don't do it myself, right? So there's discipline. Kevin, how about for you? What's holding you back from showing up more online?
Same thing, brother. The fact that at least from my end, again, I haven't been in the market that long, and
Mm,
so but like Roy said, I keep on coming back every day, showing up, and setting myself to get there. Like for example, I just moved into a new apartment, and I'm building the room to have it as a studio,
mm,
with the soundproof, with the cameras and stuff like that, because I am the type of person that I want to be consistent. Like I want to start, and not stop, because consistency and discipline is the key in this game. And so I love the fact that I'm getting myself there for it. But again, like Roy said, you can still post. I tell people, look, grab your phone, your iPhone, assuming that everyone has an iPhone or an Android, whatever.
Hmm.
Point five. If you just record on point five as you walk into a room, and then as you leave the room, as you, I don't know, open up a package, as you do something, and then at the end of your day, you can do a voiceover. If you don't, and you didn't even have to show your face, and you create a content, or you can edit that on a Saturday or a Sunday once you
Hmm.
have a little bit of more downtime. But I think to a certain extent, we are a little bit guilty of, the not following the discipline,
Hmm.
and because it happens. But the way I cope with it is I make sure every day I take a step towards getting to where I want to be, and that I fully believe in and trust in that process, because it does work.
Hmm. Yeah, 100%. We are getting close to the end of the hour here, so
Yes,
I'm going
we
to
are.
ask a quick question here of each of you. So first, I'll go to you, Kevin, then I'll answer, and then Roy, I'll have you close us out. And so, Kevin, um, what is one word you hope people use to describe your brand?
My brand, let's say, mm, just consistency.
Consistency.
Consistency consistency is where I'm at right now. It'll probably morph into something different as I grow, but as of right now, consistency, because it's what my clients have craved the most, apart from working with someone they can trust and deliver a good product. But consistency, being able to take the worry off of their hands,
Mm,
and so they can focus on what they do, because they want to see their product be consistent, be out there. And I notice that it helps them a lot. And so, yes, consistency.
nice. Awesome. I'll share for me, the one word I hope people use to describe my brand is mad. This is actually a little plug for a YouTube channel I'm launching, and that is MAD is an acronym, make a difference. And so my show is going to be the Madman Show because I am all about making a difference for people, both as professionals and personally. So I would want people to know me as Mad or the Madman because of the fact that I make a difference. So, Roy, how about for you? What is one word you hope people use to describe your brand?
Yeah, just valuable, you know. I think that's the number one thing that I want to do is bring value
Mm,
to people. So value or valuable. That's, that's it, that they get something that can help them become bigger, stronger, better in business or life. So I
mm-hmm,
think that's really what it comes down to.
mm-hmm,
That's the reason why I definitely do it, because if so it's that. But we're coming to an end right now, so I'm going to let everybody know we do this every single Friday at noon, and we appreciate you coming and listening and interacting with us. And if there's any topics you want us to discuss, please feel free to reach out to us. But yeah, have an absolute amazing weekend. We're here in Florida, so wherever you're at, but it's hot as can be over here. So make sure you wear some sunblock if you're going to be outside, because the summer has 100% hit here. So, if
Yes.
you're going out on that boat, or you're going out doing something outside, man, I'm telling you, and just be ready if you're coming to visit. If you all you got to do is walk about 30 feet outside, and you may need another shower because the humidity is super high. So, but yeah, I appreciate it. We'll sign off. All right, guys,
Thanks for viewing,
See you guys.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Roy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
See you next
take
time.
care.
Thank you.